This video is produced by Symfony Sweden. You will find more videos and information about our meetups at www.symfony.se.
Yep, everyone's ready? Are the camera team ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. I gotta give you a short introduction about Hack and how to use it, when to use it, why Hack is good, and why you should use it, basically. My name is Tobias. A little bit about me. I work at a company called Happier. We make a recruitment platform to make recruiting more efficient and more precise. And basically what we do when you get 500 applicants, we do a personnel test on all of them. And then we give you back a sorted list of applicants. So you can just choose top 5 and take those to an interview. Anyway, I'm also a member of the Föreningen Symfony Sverige, and we host these kind of PHParlors and meetups, and we are also hosting a big conference in November. I'm a happy hacker. So yeah, add me on Twitter if you like to know anything more about me, or have any questions or anything. So what is Hack? Hack is developed by Facebook. They released it like 2 months ago. They've used it for years, but now they decided, let's open source this stuff, and removed all the Facebook part of it and just made it open source. And Hack runs on HHVM, which is a hip-hop virtual machine. You should look at it as a PHP FPM. You just install it on the server and everything goes a lot faster. And basically, Hack is a better version of PHP. I'm just going to click here. And Hack is compatible with PHP. That means that you can have a PHP class and instantiate a Hack class. Or you can extend a PHP class from a Hack class, if you like. So they're very compatible with each other. And Hack is pretty simple. If you know PHP, you know Hack. I'm going to show you a little bit later. But when I say Hack is like better PHP, you start wondering what's wrong with PHP. And sorry. And it's a lot. A lot is wrong with PHP. It's not consistent, it's not reliable, it's full of surprises. And instead of being all theoretical and like saying it's wrong, I gotta show you some examples. Like this. This is true. The integer 123 is equal to the string 123 foo. This is also true. The string 123 is not equal to the string 123 foo. This is because PHP tries to convert the string to an integer, and that's where the first one is equal. This is true. The string 6 is equal to space 6. And of course, because when they're converted to integers, they're the same number. But however, if you take the int 133, it's not equal to the int 0133, because 0133 is an octal number for 91. So that's definitely not the same. And if you combine these two, you could get this. The string 025 is equal to 031. Because one is an oct, one is a des. So, and as you know, null is always less than -1. And equals to 0. Another thing that's pretty weird to issue in PHP is this is a perfectly good function declaration. The first argument should be of an object called car. You could also write. You should say that the first parameter should be an array, but you can't write that it should be a string, because this will give an error. But what PHP in general is missing is the PHP got no threading. You can't use threads, and you can't use multiple inheritance. And that's the two things I think is missing from PHP. I'll get to that later. Pardon? Yeah. I'll talk about traits later. Threads? Okay. In core PHP, you can't use threads. There are third-party extensions. But anyway, this is an example of multiple threading. Say that you get a class animal and you get a class vegetarian, and it makes sense. It makes sense to have a class called turtle that extends both animal and vegetarian. And this is multiple inheritance, and this is supported in languages like Lisp and C++, but it's quite complex to implement on a core level, because what happens if you run this code? What happens if you instantiate a new turtle and do turtle eat? What should it print? And I think that's why it's not implemented in either P, Java, or C#. So PHP got some flaws. So why hack? Hack is static typed. That means that for each variable you declare what type it is. Is this a string? Is it an array? Is it an object? You declare it very clearly. There is a thread support. It's not very well documented at the moment. I assume that it's because they haven't really completed that feature yet. But it works kind of. Another feature of hack is that it got collection objects, because arrays are quite messy. Arrays solves all problems, and with collection objects you solve specific problems. You should choose a collection suitable for your problem. Hack includes a lot of syntactic sugar, and like I said, it's compatible with PHP. So what you should do is, when you're ready to use hack, you should start writing all your new classes in hack. And you shouldn't rewrite all the code base. You can just start using hack as you want. But these are not really reasons why you should choose hack. This is just nice features. So why should you use hack? Is it because of performance? PHP will run a lot faster on HHVM than normal PHP does, and hack will run a little bit faster than that. But then again, it's not really an argument why you should use hack, because you could just buy better servers instead of learning a new programming language. So it's not because of performance. It's not really that you can do more stuff with hack than you can do with regular PHP. I haven't encountered a single problem I can't do with PHP. Of course, there are other languages that can do them better, but PHP and hack is way too similar to have different problem domains. This might be it, that you can call yourself a hacker when you start a presentation. But the real reason is bug detection. When using hack, you can detect bugs just before runtime. You can detect bugs while you're writing the code. And this is thanks to the static typing. When you declare that a function are going to return an array, you can be sure, you can know that they're going to return an array. You don't have to trust the program who wrote that function. And in hack, there's something called nullable, which means that if you said it's going to be an array, you know that it can't be null or an array. It's definitely going to be an array, unless you say that this might be null, and you will write it with a question mark before this type. And also they got collection objects that will help you do a lot of will help you not using the array object, the array type. Sorry. So this is an example hack function. As you can see, it's very, very similar to PHP. You get int and string, that's the difference, and that minor colon. And basically what this says is that this is the function foobar should take an int and it will return a string. And this is pretty much all you need to know. Now you all know hack. I said it's statically typed. This means that you have these types, but you don't have to do it. If you like, you can just leave the type. You can write a regular PHP, but if you do, you don't get this type checking and you don't find bugs. So I would recommend to write types everywhere that you can. Yeah. other interesting feature about hack is something I didn't really get my hands on at first, but when I started using it, I understood why it's good. It's called a shape. And a shape is basically an associative array, but with predefined attributes. So here I declare a shape called foo, and I say it's gotta have a name, a count, and a description. And the name should always be a string, the count should always be an int, and the description should be a string or null. This is a nullable type. So when I have a function, called bar and it takes this shape foo, I know that the foo var will have something called count, and I know that it will be an int. And if it's not an int, the type checker will give an error. So this is how I find bugs before runtime. And of course, when using regular PHP, you could write this object as an array, and you could be pretty sure that it was as you thought it was. But with this type checker and static typing, you can be 100% sure that you know that it has an attribute called count, and you know it's an integer. That's the difference between being sure and you actually know it. Great. Hack has some syntactic sugar as well. My favorites, and probably everyone's favorites, are the lambda expressions. To the left is PHP, and to the right is hack. And the lambda expressions is something you use instead of anonymous functions. And these pieces of code does exactly the same thing. It takes an array, 1, 2, 3, and square it. So this result will be 1, 4, 9. And in PHP, you all know the PHP code. But in hack, you write a lambda expression like this. This is the function parameter, and this is the contents of the function. They work. Okay, for now they work exactly the same. You could write multiple lines on the contents if you like. You use braces, and you could write multiple parameters if you like. But then again, if you're doing multiple lines lambdas, you could equally just do anonymous functions. I said that they work exactly the same, but that's a lie. They work slightly the same. The difference is the scope. This is a different lambda function. And if you're using an anonymous function in PHP, and you want to use a variable like number outside the scope of the anonymous function, you have to use the use statement. In hack, you don't have to. The lambda function inherits the scope from the ancestor. So you can just use any variable here as you can on the next line. So this is a neat feature. It's not very important, but it's a neat feature. Any questions? Just interrupt me. New place for bugs if you don't use these static typed. This, yes, the very same scope. I said something about multiple inheritance, and you asked me about traits. And yes, traits is the PHP solution to multiple inheritance. And for those of you who doesn't know traits, it's a kind of good enough solution to multiple inheritance. And you should consider this as copy-paste code. For instance, to the left we have a trait. We create a trait foo with a function bar. And then we create a class who uses foo. And what we basically could have done is writing this to the code on the right instead. So you should consider used cut and paste bar and put it in the baz. But if you are, it's something wrong with PHP traits. It's nothing wrong with my code, of course, but it's nothing wrong with the traits, how they're constructed. I will give you like 10 seconds to try to figure it out now. Any ideas? Pardon? Yes and no. But you're on something. like, look at the function bar. The function bar does one thing, and it's called the function biz. What if the biz function doesn't exist in Buzz? What will happen? You will get an error, and it's whose fault is it? Is this the author of the trait? Is it the author of the class Buzz? I could argue with you.
It's not in the trait, then you can...
Unless you use traits with requirements. That's a feature of hack. You define a trait as you used to, but you can say that if you're gonna use this trait, I require you to extend the class A, or I require you to implement interface B. That will solve the problem from the previous slide. If this class Bass was forced to implement an interface that has biz, then this would be an error. So in hack we got traits with requirements, and that's the solution to multiple inheritance. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. But the trait requires the class that uses the trait to implement the interface. Do you understand the difference? Yeah, this makes sure that all the classes that uses the trait will implement that interface that you have already created. It's like a request for interface. If you're gonna use me, you're gonna use my friend. And exactly. No, you get an error when you write the code. As soon as you write use foo and you don't have the interface, you get an error. Your IDE or your editor shows an error. Of course, your solution is good, but it's difficult to find these kind of bugs if you don't get these requirements. So I hope you have convinced you now. Hack is pretty neat. And I guess what's on your mind is, can I run Symfony 2 on HHVM? Yes, of course you can. But no, you can't run your Symfony 2 application on HHVM, because your Symfony 2 application is probably using Doctrine, and Doctrine is not supported. But the very latest version of Doctrine passes all the unit tests on HHVM. But please correct me if I'm wrong, but Symfony requires you to use a Doctrine bridge that requires you to use Doctrine 2.3 or 2.2, and that's an old version of Doctrine. So unless you update the Doctrine bridge, you can't really run a Symfony 2 application with a database, with a MySQL database. But then again, the new website, Symfony.se, is running on HHVM, and we're not using Doctrine, we're using Git instead, or GitHub, sorry. So yes, of course you can use Symfony on HHVM. You can write hack code. And if you want to try this, I've written an awesome blog post how you to start working with hack. It's basically download this Vagrant script and you run Vagrant app, and you can try edit as a source file and you see what's happening in your browser. It's pretty neat. It takes like 4 minutes to complete all the steps, and another 45 minutes to run the Vagrant app. So my very last slide is, if you want to learn more about this, today I published a 30 days of hack. You get an email with a little bit of knowledge every day of hack, and you can sign up at developer blog. If you want to read of more faults on PHP, there's an excellent article about that. It's very long, but it's interesting to read. It's a Ruby programmer who tells us everything wrong with PHP, and it's pretty fun sometimes because he's pretty angry.
Something's right.
Pretty much everything is right, but it's not. I mean, he points out the stuff that we have learned to go around. He points out that, say, str pos returns false if it doesn't find anything. I mean, it should return -1, but every one of us knows that, so we write our code around it. But he's annoyed about such things. And also, I created an excerpt bundle, which take a blog post on Symfony.se and create an excerpt. So you just take the 2 and the first chars. And I've written that in Hack. And I haven't written it to be optimized. I haven't written it to be fast. I have written it to show some Hack features and to show what you can do and what you can't do. And I think I've documented it pretty well. So it's a good read if you want to read some Hack code. Okay, now, have you any questions? Should you give this guy a mic?
Yeah, I have 10 questions.
10 questions?
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
First of all, when you talked about using an editor and seeing fault in the editor.
Yep.
Do you know any editors that support Hack right now?
Yes, it's 2 of them. It's Emacs and Vim.
Yes.
Your 2 favorite editors. Yeah. There's a long thread on the PHP Storm, and they're saying as soon as they see libraries like this one is popping up, they will add support for Hack. So is there like a PHP syntax checker for Hack, like you can run from the command line? Maybe yeah,
you could just
when you install HVM, you get a little binary called HH_client, and when you run it, you start an HHVM server and checks your code. So and the check is extremely fast, so you can check your code by every character you type.
Okay.
And what PHP Storm guys are gonna do is gonna write. They gotta use that binary and run it every time the file changes.
Yeah.
So I guess it's quite easy implementation.
But it has to. Do you have to compile it to C before you can run it, or how?
No, this Hack works exactly like PHP. In that case, you write a change, you press save, and then you can see your changes in the browser. What Hack internal does is that when the code is run, when you run the code, they use a just-in-time compiler, which will compile your PHP or your Hack to C code or assembler, I guess. C, and then it would catch the C code very well, and then it would run it.
It's a virtual machine.
Pardon?
It's a virtual machine, so it uses virtual machine opcode.
Oh, he said C. I said assembler.
That's not right.
But it's a just.
Okay, and anyway, it
No, it's not. It's like assembler, but for a specific virtual machine. Sort of like Java code. It's compiled down to Java virtual machine. Yeah, Java Python, right?
Okay, so when you write Hack, you get the just-in-time compiler to compile it to some machine code, and the machine code is cached very well, and then you run it. And if you use the static typing, and if you use the collections, you can cache those very well, very, very well. So that's why you get this extreme performance boost.
Cool. And my other question was, every time you talk about static typing, you get really happy and it's so awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think about languages like Ruby who disregard this completely and doesn't even have interfaces, any static typing?
My opinion on that is, if you like it, go for it. If you like doing object-oriented programming, you should do something more to C# or more Java. That's why I like this change. That's why I like
How do
PHP.
you get more object-oriented than Ruby? Everything is an object. A method is an object. Everything is an object.
But you don't get static typing. You don't get multiple inheritance. You don't get interfaces. Do you even
They
get?
don't need it. I'm just asking why static is so good.
Static
They
is.
say they don't need it.
Yeah.
We're in the middle.
The middleware. PHP picked a little bit of everything and made the mess.
Yeah.
Now, but with static typing, you can find bugs before you run the code, and that's why it's awesome. Pretty much. When you run the code in Ruby, you get system crash. When you run the code in C, you get segfault somewhere. yeah, but you get segfault anyway. I get segfault anyway. Thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question. First one is that there is an excellent website which is vtp-php.org or .com, about what the fuck PHP.
It's the same as this one?
Okay, that one.
No, it's not this one, but it's the same theme, isn't it?
Okay, I don't know this one. I know
Okay.
what the fuck PHP and the same what the fuck JS. It has equal amount of interest in code for review, for home reading. So yeah. And my kind of main question is, how easy is it actually to install it on different platforms? Is it already in Brew or?
Like 2 months ago, it was a hassle. You gotta compile it yourself. On a Debian system or Ubuntu system, you can just download a pre-compiled package. So it's pretty easy, and you should install it. You should think of it as PHP HVM, no PHP FPM. Sorry. You should install it like a local server that answers to either a SOC or a TCP port. So it's pretty easy nowadays.
Multiple inheritance.
Yes.
You really think that's a core feature of object orientation?
No, I think it's a feature that's missing in PHP.
Yeah, I disagree. No, it does have a lot of problems. Traits don't have those problems, incidentally, which is why they use traits instead of multiple inheritance in Hack.
You could argue that what's more preferable, traits or multiple inheritance?
Traits. Definitely traits.
That's an awesome argument. Yeah, but they pretty much solves the same problem.
That's sort of true. But what I actually wanted to, and another rant first as well.
Yep.
You do know that object orientation was basically introduced in Smalltalk, which is dynamically typed. Interfaces didn't come along until Java, which is much later.
Much later is 1995, isn't it?
Yes, but Smalltalk is 1980.
Oh.
So, so there's a good argument that object-oriented programming is actually dynamically typed.
Okay.
At least Alan Kay said so. But what I actually wanted to... Sorry?
Then it must be true if Alan Kay said so.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah, but he's no Alan Kay, let me tell you. No, well, that's one of the reasons. But I mean,
whoa!
Definitely, he's not the same person as Alan Kay. I think we can all agree to that. What I did want to ask you about is what you think about the. There are some strange design decisions in Hack.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the typing system. When you're within a method and you've got to determine the type of a variable, the first type check you does actually sets the type for the variable. So that if you do, say, if instance of, say, interface B, and you have another interface which inherits B, so you have interface B inherits C, interface C inherits B, you can't use any methods from interface C after you've done that type check, because Hack's typing system is convinced that this is an object of the type B. It only has the properties and the and methods of B. It's not C, definitely not, because we checked and it's B.
I see that you lost some of the audience now, and you asked me that question before. That's why I know the answer.
Exactly.
I tried to reproduce the problem. I wasn't successful.
It's documented.
I know that how the type checker works. It's the type checker just assumes that this is an instance of B, or this is an instance of C, and it put these assumptions on a list until it really needs to make a decision. Like I said, I haven't been able to reproduce the problem. Maybe I didn't fully understood the questions.
Probably, because it is documented in the Hack documentation as a feature.
As a feature?
Yes, as a feature. Basically, internally, any object in Hack can only have one and only one type. So once you've actually confirmed which type that is, that's the type that it's going to be forever.
Yeah.
But isn't that static typing? Like if you want to go...
Well, no, you can have type inheritance in other static languages.
Yeah, sure. It's more dynamic than static.
Sort of.
Then I have a counter question to you.
Yeah.
How common is that specific scenario?
I'd say it's kind of common. I mean, if you're using... Well, no, it's not going to be it's not going to be common in any way that you're actually going to encounter this problem.
No.
Unless you're
My
inlining
point
code
exactly.
for performance reasons, which you don't need to with hack. So it's not going to be very common, but it is a sort of attitude thing that they actually take what any people would actually refer to as a bug and document it as a feature.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's a bug, but I also will stand my ground and say it's a very rare bug.
That's true.
Any more questions? Yes, little question. Yep.
I got a feeling that hack is made in order to regain control of really large PHP projects that have gone out of control.
That's what it was designed for.
Yeah, and then my question is there any great reasons to choose hack for a new project instead of like Spring MVC or something like?
Spring MVC is a framework, not a language, and the benefits of Spring MVC is that it gets dependency injection and MVC.
I mean Java and a framework like.
I wouldn't say. Hack is a much more preferable language than PHP. Just like I said, because you find bugs. If you use Java, they got all the hack features already. But you can't use Symfony. And then again, and then again, do you want to run your website on a Java platform or a PHP platform? And like it's just a matter of taste, for sure. But you compare hack to Java. Java is more mature of a language. If you could choose a language more freely, I should probably choose C#, because C# took everything that was good from Java. But the flaw of C# is that you have to run it on a Microsoft server, and you don't want to run it on a Microsoft server. No. ever. So hack with Java, it's just a matter of taste.
But so you should look at hack that in a way that if you got a large PHP project and you need you can have those benefits of static typing and all that. It's a great choice. But
yeah, and the great choice about when you got a project already, you don't have to rewrite your project to use hack. You can use starting and write all the new classes in hack because it works with PHP, and Java doesn't have that feature. So as soon as I can run my application on an HVM server, I'm definitely going to start using hack.
All the talk about hack, it's already dependent on HHVM,
Yes.
which is very preferable for anybody, I think, because it's so much faster than just regular PHP. So if you're already on HHVM, I guess we should be. I don't know. I haven't heard any big problem with it. Then just using hack is just not an issue because you're already on the platform. Right?
Yeah.
So just extra functionality if you want to use it. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And like you're saying, you should really merge to HVM as soon as your application can run on it, because it's way faster, and it takes less memory than a regular PHP installation. Do we get any more questions?
Does this mean we can stop using XDPS as a way of recording
Yes. Great. Great.
I'll let you know.
Thank you for your attention.